everybody, welcome to the Empty Nest Teacher channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've seen a video or two here before, thank you so much for coming back. I don't take anybody for granted. It has been a long time, okay? It has been a long time, like months long time. But before I get into that, I just want to say hey to Lily and hey to DJ. Those are my babies, and they watch my videos, which I find so hilarious. But I want to say thank you, Lillian. Thank you, DJ, for watching my videos. Like I said, I hadn't done videos in months because I've been so super busy. And I saw DJ on Sunday, and he said, Aunt Winnie, you haven't done any videos in a long time. So he said, you need to do some videos. So I told him, okay, you know, I've been busy, DJ. But, and then their mom sent me pictures of Lillian looking at my videos. So it made me say, you know what, just stop. Even though, yes, you're super busy, just stop and go ahead and do a video. So that's what I'm doing. So again, hey, Lily, hey, DJ. So, am I back? That's the question. I started this channel, just quick history, started this channel when I began my teacher journey. I'm a new teacher. I have an accounting business background, did that, you know, for some time. And I was very active in the lives of my kids as they were coming through high school. So the period of time they were in high school, I was able to really support them through. There was a lot going on, you know, in our personal lives. And so I'm very grateful that I was able to do that based on the life circumstances at the time. And so when my two girls, they're twin girls, now 21, but when they were getting ready to go to school, I knew that within the next 2 years, my son would also be leaving to go to school. And especially when they graduated and I kind of came back home off of the rush of ripping and running, getting them settled, I knew, okay, my son, you know, I had 2 years to get him together. So got him together, got him to school. But I think that last year, in the process of the last year before I actually took him to school, although like I was applying for different jobs through the whole process and everything, and nothing worked. I had interviews, but nothing really worked. And so long story short, nothing worked out, I should say. Long story short, I ended up with a career change. And it was something that I never thought I would ever do, and I said I would never do. So as I was working closely with my kids in their high school years, I ended up becoming PTSO president at their high school, which was also the high school that I graduated from. So that was kind of cool. I also ended up becoming an assistant track coach because all three of them ran track. And my daughters, you know, went to school on track scholarships. And Malia's a senior now. This is her senior year. Haven't had to pay a dime. Thank you, Jesus. And that's all glory to the Lord. And I'm so proud of her. You know, this is her senior year. She will be done in 2023. But anyway, back on topic. So I was working really hard with them, or working really closely, and got close to their principal because I was doing so much. And he basically said, you know what, you're good with the kids. Have you ever considered teaching? I'm like, what? No, like, I don't want to. And I was able to make that decision at the time because I was PTSO president for some years. And so I saw some of what teachers go through. I was like the intermediary, you know, the liaison, the go-between in terms of the parent body and the teachers and staff. And I knew what sometimes, you know, how parents, we can be crazy sometimes. And then on the flip side, the teachers, I know that sometimes it can be super frustrating. And as a teacher, you're not doing it to make money. You're not, like, you know, everybody knows that the teacher salary is just not even worth it if you were going to try to get into any occupation for the money of it. That's just not one, for you if that's what you're looking for. But I knew a lot of them had good hearts. A lot of them were trying to do their best, whatever. And you basically have to do your best with what is thrown to you. And that is what is thrown to you from the students, what is thrown to you from the parents, what is thrown to you from the district, that you are a part of. And sometimes it's state level too. So it's like a lot to deal with. And I was just like, no, never thought of it. And actually, I did think of it. But when I thought of it, I was like, oh, I could never do that. And I said that multiple times, like all power to, these teachers, because teachers are amazing. That's not something I can never do. So like I said, he was like, you should think about subbing. Like, I know from prior conversation, I know that, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do and everything like that when my son goes to school. So long story short, I ended up going through orientation to be a substitute teacher. Did that, finished that, and I started subbing. Okay. So in the meantime, I'm still applying for jobs and everything. But I'm still subbing. So then another conversation comes down the pike after I'm subbing. In order for you to become a teacher, I'm like, hold up, who said I'm trying to be a real teacher for real, for real? Now, remember, this is in the midst of COVID. Okay. So this is like online school. This is like when school had already been shut down. That was 2019. And that was when the year my girls had graduated. So after they graduated, like a few months later, toward the end of 2019, everything was shut down. So I'm subbing, and during the pandemic, so I'm doing, virtual. I subbed at my kids' high school for a few days. Then I subbed. I don't even think I did middle school, but I subbed at elementary schools. So then I got one position it was considered long-term because the teacher in elementary school in the area. And it was considered long-term because the teacher actually had moved away. And because virtual learning, was in place, I guess she could have done that, but she chose to she needed a break, There were some things going on and she needed a break. So they brought me in. So that was second grade. So I taught second grade and filled in and, was getting a feel for it. And I enjoyed it a little bit. I was kind of shocked that I enjoyed it. And so I worked with two other teachers that were second grade teachers. In that position, basically they were doing the lesson planning. And, we would collaborate together and they would share with me, what was going on and everything like that. But I didn't have to do any like heavy planning because I was the sub and, they all three classes were basically learning the same thing. So they would kind of do the lessons and I would take those lessons and teach the students. So there was one student in that class who didn't want to do anything, whatever, but her mom, tried to report me and all this type of stuff. I'm like, oh no, like, this is why I don't want to be a teacher, but, for the most part, like outside of that, it was okay. Then that position ended because they wanted me to stay, but it was shaky at the end because we didn't know whether that teacher was coming back or not. And I didn't want to wait and figure it out or wait for her to figure it out. And then I miss out on, another position because again, with subbing, you have to accept certain jobs. And when you accept the job, it tells you, how long that job will last. And that one was kind of up in the air because we didn't know what she was going to do. So I found another position, which was a long-term position. So I went ahead and took the second position, another area elementary school. And right after I took that position, the school came back and said, okay, she's not coming, can you come back? And I'm like, oh, it's too late. I already accepted this position. And I didn't want to go back on, and say, oh no, never mind, to the second school, because I still just didn't know what was going on at the first school. So got to the second school. And so this was a tag third grade class. The teacher was out on maternity leave. And so that was supposed to be a certain period of time, but it ended up being the last 2 quarters. So I was there for the second half of the year. So I came in right. I think my first day was like the first day of third quarter. And she didn't come back that year. So I was there for the whole the second half. So I was working with a tag coordinator because it was a tag class. There's like they use the same curriculum as the general education classrooms, but there's like a tag level curriculum, different thought processes and everything like that that has to be included with the general ed lessons. And then they have some other additional things. But of course, I'm not a tag teacher. So my mindset was, let me come in, let me learn as much as I can, because I feel like I'm shocked and I feel like I might enjoy this. So with my kids' high school principal on one shoulder, and then me saying like, girl, no, you said you would always do it. You would never do this. And here you are, I was kind of, like trying to figure out what to do, but I was kind of enjoying it. And so the longer, I stayed there, because I didn't know when I first came in, it was like a certain period of time. I didn't know that she wasn't coming back that year. So it kind of happened gradually and it was like, oh, I ended up staying until the end of the year. But I ended up enjoying it. And I think I enjoyed the atmosphere. And when I say atmosphere, because it was, virtual, but I enjoyed working and speaking with the leadership team, the principal, the vice principal. So I was interviewed by the principal and the tag coordinator, and I ended up falling in love with them. And I think all of us were excited based on the interview that I had. So I came in and I wanted to make sure that, because I was not a teacher and didn't have teaching experience, that with a tag class, that their education didn't suffer. So I came in and tried to do the best I can. So I wanted to make sure I learned the curriculum enough to be able to, effectively teach something. So, I dug deep. The tag coordinator that I worked with, the first, I can't remember, I think it was like 2 weeks. She was on the Zoom with me, to help me and guide the class and all that. And then after 2 weeks, she was like, I think you got this. And, I was able to go ahead and do what I had to do. So that felt good, because I said, okay, like she trusts me, to go ahead and do what I have to do. And she trusts that what I'm doing, is okay. So I was, kind of excited, and that made me feel good. So like I said, that teacher decided to stay out. And as time went on, we realized, okay, I'm gonna be here longer, and end up being to the end of the school year. And so I ended up talking to that teacher, and, we were just talking about what she had done prior to, because I did want to know, like, I didn't want to come in and just change her class, but I didn't know, what was going on. So we were using Google Classroom. So I went and looked through her Google Classroom once I got access, and I tried to use the same format, so there would be, some stability. I just didn't want to come in and do like my own thing, and it's completely different than what they were used to the first half of the year. So I tried to, model what she had done, and then like kind of put my own spin on it, because I didn't have lessons from anyone. And so there were the two general education third grade teachers. And so every now and then we would collaborate with them and get some, a feel of, what needed to be done. But I went to the curriculum and I started creating my own lessons from the curriculum. I used the online, we use HMH for reading, or ELA, RELA. I went in and I was looking at the teacher edition and, creating lessons, creating slides. And I kind of got into this groove and I was like, okay, Andrea, and I started enjoying it, y'all. So from there, it was at this school that I realized, like, I can see myself doing this. And so some time had gone by, and I, talking every now and then to the high school principal, because even though my kids were, the girls were on their way out. Makai, my son, was leaving and all of that, or had left. I still was the PTSO president because during COVID, it was like out of sight, out of mind, so nobody else wanted to step up. So I stayed on to make sure that, some things got done. So I was still in contact with him. He was like, oh, how's it going? And so some information came up about a new program, but I guess it was rebooted from the past, a resident teacher program. And So the thing about the resident teacher program in this state, in this county that I'm in, is that so anybody that's a teacher knows about praxis exams. You have to take different praxis exams based on where you want to be certified. So elementary, middle, high school, and then the content area. You know, if you're teaching all of them, then it's the general ed. You know, if you're teaching certain things, you know, then you need to take the praxis and be certified to help you be certified in those areas. And then, of course, there's coursework and all of that, trainings, professional development courses and all of that. So in order to get into the program, now the resident teacher program is different than, what is the other program called? There are other conditional teachers. It's different than conditional teachers. So with conditional teachers, you start teaching and then you have, I think it was 2 years to pass your praxis exams. Well, in the resident teacher program, you have to pass your praxis exams in order to be accepted into the program. So it was kind of late when I decided that I could do this. And I had been asking God, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, my life was so geared toward my kids, support. And now I have to turn around and figure out what Andrea's going to do, you know, for herself. And so, you know, long story short, everything, like, different pieces were moving. And I know it wasn't me moving it because I would have never chosen to be a teacher. I never would have thought I would enjoy it. So I never would have made moves to do that. I probably still would have been applying for accounting jobs and all that type of stuff. And I don't know, you know, what would have happened, but I really feel like all the jobs I applied to, all the jobs that I got, you know, I had an interview for, and the interviews went well. And I even had 2 interviews where they said they were going to hire me, and then I just didn't hear anything back from them. But I think that all happened because had I got that job, I would have never done this. And sometimes things happen the way they do because God is placing you, you know, you have to close, he has to close certain doors because you're going to walk through them, you know, and then open doors that you would never even walk up to pull the handle on. So he just has to open it. And I think that's what happened in my case. He closed a certain door because I would have gone through it. And this, it's not like it was like a bad door. You know what I mean? It was a job, but obviously it was a job, you know, that wasn't for me at the time. I was supposed to transition into teaching. And then, like I said, this door opened, and it's, you know, a door I never would have even looked at. So I had to take the praxis exams. Now, we were down to the wire. So this program, I think it was like the beginning of July. It might have been June at first, but it ended up getting extended to July. And we're talking about, we're about a month out. I think it was toward the end of May. And I need to take these exams. So let me say mid-May because I had to get time for the scores to come back. So I'll say May. And I had to take these exams. Now, the exams I had to take were not the Praxis 1, which is what everybody has to take. Everybody that wants to be a teacher has to take it. And so that is composed of 4 exams. Okay, so that was reading, math, I think it was science and social studies. And so, no, it's 3. The core, the Praxis 1 is 3, reading, math, and writing. That's what it is. So I had to do that. So reading is reading, math is math, and then the writing one, you have to write an essay, you know, for it. And so that's, I guess, to make sure you're, you know, competent, you know, enough to teach anybody. So I did those. And so you can take it separately or you can take it all together. Well, I didn't have time to take a whole bunch of stuff separately. So what I did was I started looking at YouTube. Shout out to Kathleen Jasper. She like really helped me. I bought her book. I was looking at all her videos and taking notes and everything like that. And so I took an exam. And so at the time, because of COVID, you can take it from home. So you had your computer and then you had to show them the room, you know, to make sure you're not cheating. So I had to use my computer to turn around and they could see the whole room, see the floor, see the desk, whatever. And then, you know, it's like, what, 3-4 hours and you take the exam. So I passed the reading, I passed the math on the first go around. Thank you, Jesus. But then something happened during my writing exam, and I don't know what happened, but I didn't even have a chance to type anything in the exam, and it like kind of moved forward to the next part. So long story short, there was nothing they can do, and all that type of stuff. So I had to end up retaking just the writing piece, paying more money to take it, but I passed that one technically the first go round. So thank you, Jesus. So that took me 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to study for the Praxis 1, which again was the writing, the reading, and the math. So then you have to take, whatever you're trying to get certified in eventually. So that was elementary, general ed for me. So that was where another reading, another math, science, and social studies. So 4 tests. And of course, they could have been broken up and taken, but I didn't have that time. So I studied for another 2 weeks. So it was 2 weeks for Praxis 1 and then 2 weeks for Praxis 2. And in the middle somewhere, I had to retake the writing one from the Praxis 1. So I passed all those on the first go round. So I was like, thank you, Jesus. So I know that was nothing but him. Now I'm not dumb, by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not dumb at all, but like to take 7 exams basically in 4 weeks was crazy. Okay. And pass them. Now these Praxis exams, this is why I thank God so much. And it's only God, I give him all the credit. The Praxis exams, because you have to take them in order to be certified, what will happen, and what happens to many conditional teachers that can't pass them, is you can't teach anymore, so you lose your job. So thank God I wasn't in that position where I'm working, I'm teaching, every day, and then the pressure is on me where I have to pass these exams or I lose my job. So I was glad I wasn't in that position, but the program that I was in, I had to pass all these in order to start in the resident teacher program. So because I passed everything, and my score, the last score came just in time, the writing score, because I had to take it over, came I think the day before the due date. So that worked out, and God be glorified. And so I was able to start the program. So that summer, we started the program. So my summer was dedicated to basically the orientation of the resident teacher program in my district. And we started CPD classes. So continuing professional development, we have to take certain classes. Now, this is a 2-year program. And I'm in my 2nd year now. So this is a 2-year program. So we literally all summer long, they told us, if you have a job, you might not have time to work, and all this type of stuff, this needs to be it. And our classes were during the day, not 8 to 4, I think it was 9 to 4 or something like that. And we went from class to class to class. When we finished the first class, then the next class every week, Monday through Friday. Now they tried to have leeway, a little bit at times where based on holidays and, different things like that, we didn't have class. But basically we were in class during the summer. And so once that was over, then you start teaching. And so even with, and it might happen like this in a lot of different professions where you go to school for something, but then the on-the-job training can be a completely different situation. You learn in school or in trainings how things should be, how things are set up or whatever. But then when you get in the thick of it, it's not really like that all the time. Different scenarios happen and you kind of got to roll with the punches. You got to go with the flow. And that's kind of how teaching is. And so the first year, I had 17 students last year. And, that was cool. We got through it. I ended up having the students with IEPs. I don't know how that happened when I was the new teacher, first year. And I ended up having the students in 3rd grade with IEPs. But, God brought me through. And there were some situations up in there. And then this year, I don't know what happened. But all 3 3rd grade classes have 30 students. I technically have 29 now because one of my students, she came one day, was a new student, but I think she ended up moving or something like that. So she's not in my class. I have 29 students now. Now, 2 other ones, original students moved away. So I would have had more than 30. I would have had 31, but 2 of them ended up moving after, I think, first quarter, the early part of second quarter. So I have 29, which is almost double of what I had last year. And so last year I wanted to lay the foundation in terms of me getting, and I'm glad I had, when I subbed, that second half of the year, I was able to get into curriculum. So that was my introduction to curriculum. And I did start, creating lessons for reading and stuff like that. Now, thank God, the math curriculum, you don't have to create like the slides and the lessons, like they already have that for you. So that saves the day. But then the science and social studies, and health and reading, they have curriculum, and you kind of have to create the slides. Or I know everybody doesn't use slides, but I love slides. So you have to create the slides to that. Math, they give you the slides. So, so last year, my first year, I'm trying to get foundational, just trying to lock some things down. I'm trying to get my lessons together so that way in future years, I can use those lessons and modify as needed. So just trying to build every year. So that's what, my focus was last year. Just get acclimated. Now, mind you, last year was the first full year that students came back from pandemic. So they were out for 2 years. And it was 2.5 years or something like that. And they were virtual. Sometimes they didn't show up for class, or they're on camera in their sleep. Everybody was not engaged. And so that had an effect. So whatever prior learning gaps were there, on top of COVID learning gaps, now this is what we have, okay? And so that, was not so a good experience coming in as a new teacher. When you're trying to get your footing, and, a lot of students don't know how to read and write. And, in third grade in the curriculum, they're supposed to start writing essays. And you can't read their writing. They're writing their name or whatever, date, and you can't read it, And they certainly, some of them can't read. This is not for all students, but, a good part. And then you have the English language learners where they needed to be in person in order to get the help, because a lot of their parents don't speak English at home. And so they, they were on Zoom, but, they need to be in person to get the assistance that they need. So that didn't happen for 2.5 years. And so last year was the first year they came back full time, and you could tell that it was almost like, why do I have to do work? Why do I have to do work? Right? So I had to battle that mentality. I'm used to being able to do what I want to do, like, what? And I'm like, okay, you're back in school. And so we had to contend with that. So this year, I said, okay, I'm excited about going into my second year because I kind of got my foundation. I thought about different things, how I did certain things, or different new techniques I could use or whatever. Now, last year I had a mentor teacher for my program, and she was amazing. But then she became a vice principal, so I didn't have a mentor teacher. And then our mentor teachers and a lot of staff members that were support staff in our county, in our district, were deployed into the classroom. So they're not there anymore. So we didn't have a mentor teacher from the program. But she was so good that I had a lot of tools that I could still use. I had enough tools to kind of put some things into place last year. And then I had a list of things and a list of resources where I could put, additional things. I just couldn't do everything at once. She gave so much, which I loved. So I was able to kind of separate, this is what I work on now first year, and then these are some things I will implement in my second year. So I was cool with that. And so this year, I also decided to go back to school. So I had my bachelor's degree. You have to have a bachelor's degree to start teaching. So, and I had originally, right after I finished my bachelor's degree back in the day, about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I started my MBA. So I took a few classes, but then I stopped because I ended up throwing myself into my kids, supporting my kids. So that kind of put me on the back burner. So now here I am, these years later. And in order for me to move across the pay scale, my thing is I'm not like 21 coming out of school young, I have grown kids now, college age kids now. And I can't just sit at the bottom of this pay scale. So the only way, I know in my district, for education, to move across the pay scale is you to get some more education. So I decided, originally, I was going to wait until after this 2-year resident teacher program was over. But then I decided, you know what, let me go ahead and get started. I don't have time. Like I'm old. I don't have time to sit and just wait even another year. So I started my master's program. So that is why 30 minutes later, that is why I haven't done any videos this year. So I did teach summer school as well. I taught summer school this summer, and I have some videos. And so I was doing videos for a minute, but I just didn't have the time to edit them and put them up. So what I'm going to do is start putting those videos up that I did do. Some of them are like coupon stuff that I did, some months ago. Some of them are conversations with my kids. Some of them are, whatever. So whatever I have that I did film, I will begin to edit those and put those up. But I wanted to give you like a life update, like, so this is hectic for me now because I'm taking classes, and I know, people take multiple classes. I'm just saying what it is for me. As a new teacher, so obviously I'm a second year teacher now, but I'm still new. And not only am I trying to get acclimated and build on what I was able to start last year, but things in the district change, different demands, the reporting. It's like tons of reporting, y'all. Like testing, additional testing for students. So there's so much more on my plate this year than it was last year. So it has been hectic. So I'm taking my new teacher classes because, again, it's a 2-year program. So we finished, some classes last year, and we told them, like, we can't do summer again, like, let us have a free summer. Let us have our summer. Like, teachers need our summer. That's one of the perks to being a teacher is you get your summer off. But what I did do was I taught in my district at a gaming camp. So that wasn't, I didn't have to grade stuff and all that. So that was wonderful. And that was how I came up with my the funds to start my degree this year. So I was, shopping around in terms of schools. I talked to a lot of people. This summer was life-changing because I talked to a number of people, teachers that didn't come from my school. And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to get feedback from not just people in my building, in my environment, but people from all kinds of environments. These were other elementary school teachers, middle school teachers, high school teachers, okay? From different, that's all over, the district. And I was just so grateful to be able to sit down and talk to some of them and learn what they did. They were able to tell me how they got their degrees. The overwhelming theme and what I got from them is a lot of them waited in order to, but they were, younger. They started teaching younger, but they waited. They taught, 5, 10 years, and then they went back to school. Whereas here I am, just finished my first year, and I'm talking about, getting my master's degree. But again, I'm older, than they were when they started teaching, so that was the different dynamic. But they were able to share with me how they chose their school, how they chose their program, why they chose the school and the program and all that type of stuff. And it was just so wonderful. And that was the catalyst to me choosing the school I am now a student at. And even some of the people in my cohort for the resident teacher program, 2 of them are now at the same school. We're not taking the same program courses, but we're in a support group for each other because here we are, new teachers and now master's students. So with the new teacher courses that we have to take, as well as my master's courses that I'm taking, it's hectic, along with all of the other new stuff. So it's, like I said, additional testing. So we always had like benchmark, we had iReady, different, and it's like 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of the year, to monitor student growth and all of that. But now it's like all these other tests. Then it's a lot of reporting. So, and progress monitoring in the middle of those 3 times of the year testing. And then we have, a lot of collaborative planning every week. So for math and reading, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing that, this report, that report. And they need that for their SPP, which is the school performance plan that the school has turned into the county and the state and all of that. So a lot of the information that gets turned in or it gets included and has to be reported comes from the teacher. And so they're trying to find different ways to collect all this information or gather all this information and have for all these different reasons, and like I get it, but then when you think about the demands from state, from county or district, and you know, all these different demands. It's really unrealistic. And I think most teachers have agreed upon that. And I think by school determines whether it's bearable. I'm grateful for my admin team. I've heard horror stories, you know, elementary, middle school, and high school horror stories, but because of, you know, administrative teams. But I'm grateful for mine. I feel like I have a good relationship with mine, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to, you know, start subbing at this school and get the opportunity to actually teach here. I feel like that was just God, you know, putting things in place. And I feel like, and I'm so grateful, I feel like he put these things in place because he knew, like, I didn't want to do this in the first place. So he's allowing me to enjoy it and be in a situation or be in an environment where it's not hostile. You know, of course there are things, but again, I always keep in mind that I don't feel like our admin is asking us to do stuff just to be asking us. I do feel like, you know, pressure is on them to have certain information reported. And so they, in turn, you know, have to, you know, ask us and kind of put the pressure on us. And we have to respond to that pressure together. But, you know, I think they make it somewhat bearable. Now, bearable doesn't mean that it can all be done, because it's unrealistic. It really is. Everything that a teacher is supposed to do is unrealistic. So I got my bearings last year with just curriculum. This year, small groups. All right. So we're working on the gaps due to whatever the prior learning gaps were, and then now the how the gaps during COVID have exacerbated any gaps that could have been present before. So we're working on small groups to address those gaps. Again, I teach third grade, but a lot of my students are testing kindergarten, first grade. The majority of my students are testing kindergarten, first grade. So that's 2 or more grades below grade level. And so you have curriculum where you have to read, it doesn't matter the content area, you have to read word problems, you have to read directions, read this and that in order to do your work in science and social studies and math. You have these word problems. You have to read the directions to know what the problem is asking you to do, is what answer to find. You have to read the problems to know what tool you have to use to find it. You know, and so it's about reading and being able to read and write. And so the small groups, reading small groups will address the reading and the writing, and then you have math small groups because those are the 2 main content areas. So this year has been super hectic because my classes basically doubled. And so that means twice as many students who feel like I'm coming to school to see my friends and play, like do work. I have a student who will delete, you know, his version of the work. When it's assigned to all students, like he'll just delete it, like, oh. And I asked him, actually on Friday, I asked him yesterday at school, I don't know why you think that deleting it means you don't have to do it, or like I won't see it. I mean, that doesn't give you an A. So I don't know what, you know, the students' thought processes are, where I'll come to school, just don't have to do work. But I do realize, don't get me wrong, I realize like COVID, and they haven't been in school, and so they have to get, you know, reacclimated as well. But some of the, you know, the sneaky stuff that they try to do and think that, you know, it's going to work is sometimes hilarious to me and sometimes so frustrating. But so that's what's been happening. And then like with the PTSO stuff, I just gave that up. Or tried to transition it. I'm still kind of on it, helping out a tiny bit from afar. So I'll be glad to release that. This will be my last year though. I kept saying this would be my last year, and I ended up staying on because I didn't want it to fall to the ground. And then the high school principal transitioned out to central office, and then one of the vice principals is now the I was about to say president, the principal there. And so I didn't want to leave her because I, you know, knew her and everything. I didn't want to leave her high and dry. So we tried to transition, and they're trying to feel their way and all of that. But I'm gonna have to let that go after last year after this year, because it's just a lot going on for me. So this is why I haven't been doing videos. This is why I haven't been doing videos. So I have 2 classes, and my master's class, so it's, the accelerated classes. Anybody that's taking classes online, kind of the same format, 5 weeks, and then you have a week break. So I'm in my 4th class right now, and I've gotten all A's so far. The first 3 classes have, A's. I have an A in this class, and I'm really excited. I feel like I'm just now able to pour back into myself, like to try to replenish myself. But it's like on one hand, I'm acknowledging this because my kids, are now out and about. They're doing, their thing, starting their adult lives and everything like that. Although this is like my time to replenish myself, everything I'm doing is like so draining because it's a lot. Like I'm just one of the people that, ripping and running, but at least the ripping and running will benefit me in the end. So that's the way I look at it. Let me do it while like I'm in a groove to do it, because had I not started, I don't know how I would have felt at the end of this year, because this year would have been draining for me. It is draining. So I don't know if I would have felt like at the end of this school year, oh yeah, now let's start my master's program. So I'm glad I started it when I did. I was talking to my little brother, and I was saying how, I guess because I'm older now, I enjoy, like, I don't know that I ever thought that I would really enjoy being back in school, but I'm actually kind of enjoying it. And so I just think it's all God. And I know I keep saying that, but I'm like so serious. I think it's all God just giving me like peace with everything that I have to do right now. So I just want to go ahead and, while I'm in the groove, just get this stuff done. Also, and I was trying to figure out, I'm like a planner, okay? So I don't want to just get to something, decide to do it, finish it, and then I have to decide what to do next. Like I haven't thought about it at all. So although I'm only 4 classes in to 12 classes, I had to have at this time it was like 2 or 3 classes, but I had to have a conversation with my little brother and kind of think out and talk out what is going to be my next move. Of course that can change and you give yourself grace, but I like to plan far in ahead. So what's going to be my next move after I get my master's degree? And first he helped me like to decide what master's degree I wanted to get. And it worked out so wonderfully, merging the educational realm that I'm in now with the business experience and the degree I had. But what do I want to do moving forward? Do I want to be a principal? Nope. That's a big nope. But I also realized that I didn't want to be a teacher. So while I'm not seeking to be a principal, could it happen? It could. But I definitely don't want to do that. I know how I feel as a teacher, and I know what I observe in terms of my principal, and I feel like she handles things well overall. I wouldn't want all that pressure on me. I wouldn't want to be the one to have to make all these teachers do this and that, or give the directive for all this stuff that I know is not. There's no way that everything can be done, the way the higher ups are telling you have to do it, or your school, your teachers have to do it. I don't want to be in that position. I feel like I want to do something, stay in the realm of education, but like central office stuff, like business stuff, or helping to support, from that angle, after I finish teaching. So what is my, plan after the master's degree? I have 2 options so far that I think, I've thought about and could go. I feel like I know which way it may go, but I could get other master's degrees. Now, to go across the pay scale, there's bachelor's degree, there's bachelor's plus 30 credits, then master's degree, master's plus 30, and then you have doctorate degree. Now, I never wanted to have a never wanted to do a doctorate program. the dissertation, like just, and I just not me. Like I'm not even trying that, and that was my mentality. But talking to my brother, he kind of opened up some other things, and that became an option in terms of the EDD. So I could go get 2 more masters, or I could go the EDD route. So I feel like I know which one I'm gonna do, but my thing is, let me plan it, let me think it out, let me talk it out. Of course, I don't have to do anything right now, but at least I've considered the option. So once I get there, I don't have to like start from scratch and try to figure out what to do. So this has been my update. I know it was a lot of talking, but there's been a lot going on, and I've been drained and depleted. And this is on top of like other things, just other life things. This has nothing to do with personal life, has nothing to do with like my duties at church or, whatever. All that still, has to be done. And so I'm just like so drained, but I'm not enjoying being drained, but I'm so grateful that I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing. I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing. I was talking to my mom like 2 days ago, and she was like, it sounds like you enjoy, and I'm glad that you enjoy. And I said, yeah, I have to admit, like, again, I would have never chosen it for myself, but I have to admit that I do enjoy what I'm doing right now. So I'm just really grateful that in the draining space that I am in at this point, with being a teacher, going back to school and being a student myself, and then everything else that, life brings, that I'm enjoying my job. And so, I pray that I enjoy it as long as, I am there, and I believe I will. And I'm just really excited to see what's going to happen, after my master's degree. I'm really excited. I'm just kind of keeping myself open because, like I said before, I didn't see this coming, and I didn't know what I was going to do once, my son went to school. So, I decided to stay open to God, and it worked. It's working for me. And so that taught me the biggest lesson. I had already kind of learned, obviously trust God, but I had to put that into practice and really say, okay, God, I'm open to what you want for me, because a lot of times what we want, we don't know what's best. We feel like we know, and we might have preferences. And sometimes our preferences might not be what's best, but God knows what's best. And so I'm just so glad that, I was able to keep myself open. And so I've learned just continue to do that. Like, he will take me where I need to be. He will open the doors that need to be open. It's like, I don't even want to touch a door. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm just standing in the hallway, like, okay, God, go ahead, open that door. And when, you open the door, I'll walk through it, and whatever I need to do, I'll do. But when I need to close the door, like when I need a door to be closed, I should say, just let me know, turn around and walk back out. And you can go ahead and close it and seal it, and just show me what door to walk through next. So that's kind of where I am in life right now. I'm just like completely, trusting God, because he knows what's best. And I've made mistakes, before, and that doesn't mean, every decision I make is a mistake. No, I don't feel that way. But I've just learned, just be open to God and just, let him order your steps. Like, he's supposed to be ordering our steps if we say, we're saved and we're believers and, we have a relationship with him and we're followers of Christ. Then we should allow him to order our steps. And I think a lot of times what we want and what we prefer, we let that guide our steps. But I really do want him to order, because he knows what's best for me. So that is my update. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I know it was long. It's going on 50 minutes now. But it's been a lot going on. I just wanted to share with you where I am now. So again, I will put up some videos from, it's not a year ago, but, months. I will put up some videos so that you can see what has been happening. I haven't done anything recently, but I'll get back to doing videos for Lily and DJ. And go ahead and share the video. I appreciate it. Hit the like button. Go ahead and comment. Are you a new teacher, first, second year teacher? What has been your experience so far? Do you enjoy it? I'm not even going to ask, is it stressful? Because I know teaching can be stressful, but we all have different ways of dealing with that so that it won't take us out. You know, how do you feel about your experience? You know, where are you teaching? What state are you in? Or what country are you in? Hopefully you guys share these videos if you come watch. And, you know, just share what's going on with you as well. So again, thank you for watching the video. Hit the like button, go ahead and share, go ahead and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to get back to doing videos. Now I can't promise that it's going to be like super consistent at first because I'm still like in the thick of things, but I will share some things specifically that have been going on lately. So again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.